Of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. LMadu, and the issue is the election in Nigeria in 2007 and the implications for the continent of Africa. And of course, Dr. Madu, you've given us some excellent information in reference to what is going on in Nigeria. Let's have you to continue that by perhaps pointing out some additional information in reference to some of the issues that will have to be done in reference to the success of this election.
And like from where I left off before, I talked about the need, for an agricultural revolution in order to help, the country to start an industrial revolution. Because where you don't have an agricultural base, it's difficult to sustain your industries. That's been the problem, not only with Nigeria, but most African countries. So that has to be emphasized. For example, a state in Nigeria called Kwara State, a few years ago, imported a whole lot of farmers from Zimbabwe, white farmers from Zimbabwe, to come to farm in the state. Here is a state that has a lot of money. What does it take to teach your own people to use, mechanized agriculture and all that, instead of importing workers again when you have
to work in agriculture?
Exactly.
When you might be able to justify it in some other areas.
Absolutely. 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 It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense economically and of national pride. It doesn't make sense. Okay, that's number two. Number three, healthcare. It has to be modernized. For example, a few weeks ago, the vice president, the outgoing vice president, Mr. Abubakar, sustained a knee injury. In his house, he had to be flown to London for knee surgery. Why not in Nigeria? He's been vice president for 8 years. So apparently he didn't think of the necessity of having a well-equipped hospital in his own country or in his own state.
And now he flies off to
London.
He
flies off to London to have a knee surgery. Every time members of the government get sick or sustain an injury, they fly overseas for hospitalization. I personally think that whenever a president goes overseas for medical treatment, I think it's a question of national security. A president sitting in a foreign hospital with foreign doctors and knives over him, it's a risk to national security. So I think this new president should, make it as a national priority to equip the hospitals the country already has to first class. It doesn't take anything to do. Much money has been stolen that could equip the hospitals in the country. This has not been done. And it's a disgrace that the governors and everybody else should be leaving the country to attend medical checkups and etc., etc. The average person in the country can't even buy a bottle of Tylenol comfortably. But then a governor can come here 12 times a year and doesn't think about it. It's comfortable with that. So this must stop. The new administration must emphasize the need to modernize the healthcare as a matter of urgency. That's very important.
And Dr. Madu, would not many of the Western countries, I know from some of the individuals that you've presented to us for this particular show, many of these individuals come to the United States and they find that people in the United States are willing to cooperate with them through loan, lease kinds of situations and et cetera. Does that seem to be a viable method whereby Nigeria might be able to move forward in a real sense, especially in the areas of medicine, education, agriculture, and et cetera?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have so many willing partners here, but the problem is with the administrators in Nigeria. You see, you have a whole lot of NGOs and governments here who are willing to partner and work with various states in the country to develop their healthcare. For example, our own governor here in Tennessee is willing to travel to Nigeria and some African states to form partnership with the state. So also is other governments in this country. So it's not a question of finding partners in Europe or in the United States, but it's a question of willing partners there who could do their own part without